Welcome to 101. I'm Greg Bassey, your host from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. It's another big day here at PAC 14. We have the smartest person I know in our community. She's here, Amanda Pollack. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you.
Now, you are an engineer for the city of Salisbury. You've got this cool new job.
Yes.
Tell us what you're doing now for the city.
Well, my new title is I'm the Director of the Department of Infrastructure and Development.
Now, that means something.
It does. So a little background. The city just went through a major reorganization with this year's new budget.
Yeah, the mayor went from like 15 departments to 6 or
something like
that. I'm
that.
exaggerating, but yeah.
Right. So I was the Deputy Director of Public Works. And Public Works was 175 people. It was a huge department, and it was very difficult to manage. So part of the reorganization was to break it up into 3 distinctly different departments. So the first department's field operations.
Right.
The director is Tom Stevenson, and they handle all streets, sanitation, recycling,
Tom's
street
job
sweeping.
is to keep the city clean.
Clean and beautiful.
So if you see weeds, dirt, call Tom.
That's right. The marina, the zoo,
Right.
everything falls under field operations. Traffic lights, street lights, I'm trying to think of what else. So that's one of the divisions. The second one was Waterworks, and Mike Molds is the director of Waterworks, and that's the wastewater plant and the 2 water plants.
And Mike is the guy who'll talk about water pipes all day long
Yes.
if you want to talk to him about that.
That's right, yes. And the utilities department that
Right.
manages all the pipes.
Right.
So that's Waterworks. So the third division was infrastructure and development. So in a nutshell, what that means, for infrastructure, we manage all of the capital projects in the city. So any construction that's going on, whether it has to do with waterworks or field operations, my department manages it and inspects it. And then the development piece is everything to do with development. So if you're a developer coming into the city, now you come to one office, room 202 in the government office building, where it used to be you would go to 4 or 5 different offices depending on your needs. So the building permits and inspections department is part of this department now. And so all building permits are issued through the department. We have a brand new city planner, which is a new position.
Right. Has it been hired yet?
It has been hired.
Okay.
It's filled. Our planner is Ann Roan,
Okay.
and she's been with us for a couple of weeks, so she's still learning everything about the city, and she will be the point of contact for new developers coming in. So we will take you now through planning, design, permitting, inspection, building permits, everything through this one department.
Now, I'm in the government office building a lot, and I see things that go on, and I think I know what I'm seeing. Like, I can build stories from what I'm seeing, and
Sure.
usually I'm wrong on that. But the other day I was coming out, and there was a classic, contractor, developer-looking guy, and he was with a guy with, a necktie on, so that was either, his lawyer or an architect or someone. And they come out the door, and I hear them say, "That Amanda's terrific to work with. Isn't she great?" And the guy in the tie goes, "It's way better than it used to be." So I was like, we need to get Amanda on the show because there's some positive stuff going on here.
That's nice to
But
hear.
they had met with you, and I guess it went well.
That's good. That's nice to hear. We're trying to work a lot with the contractors. We're a team. When we're building a project, we're a team. We're not trying to be adversarial. We're all trying to get the projects done in time, on budget, and there's always going to be unforeseen problems, but
Right.
we're trying to work with people.
Because we want Salisbury to grow and get better.
We have a lot going on. Yes, there's a lot of growth. You're going to see a lot of construction over the next few years.
Now, you're good for this job because you're an engineer,
Yes.
and there's all kinds of stereotypes about engineers, but you're a real people person.
I try to be a people person, but yeah, there are a lot of stereotypes, so I guess you could probably classify me as an introvert naturally, but I don't have problems speaking with people or speaking to council.
Well, watching the council meetings for a lot of years, Mike Molds will be talking about something, and they have no idea what he's talking about, and it's not because he's using words and they don't understand. And he'll go, "Let me get Amanda in here," and then you'll come.
No.
And you'll sit there and you'll explain what's going on.
No.
And then you can tell that they get more engaged. There's just something about the way you do it.
Well, Thank you. Thank you again.
I can't be the first one who's observed that.
I do try to just consider my audience and what they want to hear. I could talk, you had mentioned the treatment plant before we got started. I could talk for hours about the treatment plant, but you don't want to hear about that
No,
level
let's
of
do
detail.
that.
So.
I had some calls recently. People are like, when is this treatment plant going to be done? And I was like, it's never going to be done. It's going to be being added onto and built more for years and years and years. So what is the status with our water treatment plant?
Sure. So it's the wastewater treatment
It's
plant.
the
WWTP, the wastewater
right.
treatment plant, and it will be done. I promise it will be done. The contract was a 30-month contract, and it started in June of 2015.
Okay.
So our original deadline was December of this year. So they're still on track to bring our process up by December of this year. Now, that being said, you're still going to see the contractor into next spring a little bit, March or April, till they actually finish all the what we call punch list items,
right.
all the small miscellaneous items. So the end is near. We're getting closer. This is a $50 million construction contract. It's
right.
a huge contract, and we keep the existing...
That's as much as Camden Yards cost in Baltimore.
That's right.
Look at it that way.
I know. And we're keeping the existing plant in operation while we're building a new plant. And we're getting close. In October, we'll be starting up the new plant. And we'll still have the old plant in operation. We'll have a portion of the new plant in operation at the same time, starting to meet the new permit limits. So we're getting to exciting parts of it.
Now, the history there is kind of convoluted.
Yes.
The plant was under capacity or over capacity for a long time. They built a new plant, but it wasn't built correctly, or it was the wrong kind of technology?
It was an untried technology.
Right.
I'll put it
We
that
were
way.
the guinea pigs on that. And,
Sure,
yeah.
and now we're going for a very tried and true technology, one that's in thousands of locations around the country. So we feel very confident in what we're doing. You've probably seen, if you drive on Pemberton Drive, there's a big new concrete tank there.
Right.
And that was a very interesting construction. That was all preformed panels that were built off-site. They were actually
Wow.
built in Pennsylvania and trucked down. So it was an interesting operation of trucks coming in, unloading panels, erecting them. But it's nice, all the walls were built in a factory-controlled environment. So
Wow.
it was really neat to see that get put together, and it got put together very quickly. And then the other thing that people notice, there are the huge blue tanks by the ball fields,
Right.
and they are all getting cut in half.
Okay.
And I keep getting questions from people saying, why would you do that?
So I wasn't sure if they were yours or if they were the oil. I've
Nope,
never
those
really
are
known.
ours.
Okay,
The ones
okay.
right by the ball field
Right.
are ours. And what we're using the tanks for is completely changing. We're not using it for the same type of process, and we didn't need that same amount of volume. So we are cutting them in half, and that's one of the things I've gotten the most questions on, because people say, well, you had a big tank, why didn't you keep a big tank? We couldn't have used it anyway. We
Right.
didn't need it. So they're coming down, and then we're going to put up a big net. So for all the kids who like to hit home run balls into the tanks, a huge net's going up to keep balls out of the tanks.
See, it's a great target. That's part of the rite of passage of growing up
Yes.
around here, is
I
trying to
think
hit
it
the
is.
tank.
Yeah, we get a lot of baseballs. So
We'll actually go outside the stadium and hit it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it makes a great noise.
yes, apparently it does. We've even found golf balls. So we'll have a net that keeps golf balls, baseballs, any kind of balls out
Can't
of
we
the
have anything
tanks.
nice anymore? I mean, it was fun.
Right. So the end is in sight, but we still have a few more months of construction, and soon it'll be controls and sort of that detailed process. The huge, big equipment will be slowing down soon.
It's funny, the wastewater treatment plant gets criticized unfairly, I think. But the creek watchers, in their report this year, the cleanest water in the river was near the outfall
Yes.
pipe at the wastewater treatment plant, because it's putting out clean, treated water.
It is. It's putting out clean water. We have very low bacteria levels compared to what's in the rest of the river. So it really, I agree, it's been unfairly characterized over the years, but we're still putting out good quality now. We'll be putting out great quality in a
Right.
few more months. And we're upgrading to enhanced nutrient removal, ENR treatment, and that's the highest level of treatment in the state. So we're getting there. We're close.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You were in the news just recently. The Riverside Circle
Yes.
plan was unveiled.
Yes.
And that's exciting, because I think it's a cool thing. Again, it's one of those things that's going to be criticized. It's not designed, though, to stop all the traffic problems on Mill Street. It's just to make a better approach, I think, to the city there.
Yes, I agree. So
Yeah.
it's not going to solve all the problems, but it will make that a better intersection, and it will be free-flowing during certain times of the day. Now, at 5 o'clock, when traffic backs up down Riverside Drive, that will still happen some. Our next step in that process is to meet with State Highway and talk to them about the lights at Mill Street and Route 50,
Right.
because a big part of how that intersection functions is how those two lights function.
Right.
So making some changes there with especially left turns in particular at both of those intersections would help tremendously on the circle. But I'm excited to see that built. We started the study not even sure if a circle would work,
Right.
but very quickly found that yes, a circle would be feasible there and makes a lot of sense. And then you probably saw from the presentation, we looked at a large circle and then we
Right.
tried to look at a smaller
The
circle.
150, 125 diameter.
Yes.
Right.
So we started out calling them a single lane circle and a double lane circle, but then they sort of morphed into different things. So
Right.
we called them the 120 foot and 150 foot. And the 150 foot was large and had a lot of impacts to surrounding properties and
That was going to force
Camden
the closing
Avenue.
of Camden Avenue.
Yes, it would have made Camden Avenue a cul-de-sac, and we didn't feel like that was what was best for the neighborhood. So we're recommending the 120-foot diameter roundabout, which keeps all lanes open and keeps the number of lanes that we have now on each approach the same.
Right.
We had talked about Riverside Drive as single lane until you get close to the light, and then it opens up to 2 lanes. So we had looked at should that be a single lane all the way in, but it really made sense to make that
It works
2
fine
lanes.
now as a single lane.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're keeping all the approaches the same. I'm excited to see this one move along, and that is in this year's budget.
Right. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. So we're meeting with State Highway soon. After that, we'll start the design process. The city surveyors have already been out and surveyed the entire intersection. You've probably seen the paint on the ground.
Right.
So the base map is ready to go, and we'll be ready to start design shortly.
Yeah, I actually read the whole study. I really enjoy that stuff. And we had a long story in the paper, and I had a person read it in advance, and she said, you know, when I started reading this thing, I was like, why am I reading this? But she's like, I really enjoyed it. I actually read the whole thing because it's so interesting. But the study reveals all the stuff that we all sit there and see in the cars.
Exactly.
That no one's using the right lane. They're all bunching up in the left lane. So you've got capacity there that's not being used.
Right.
Because everyone's trying to turn left. It's just interesting how it was all detected.
I love that also, because we hired a consultant based on proposals, and they had by far the best proposals and qualifications, but they're not from Salisbury.
Right.
So my initial thought was, are they going to understand how this intersection functions? Because I drive through it 3 times a day, and I know how that intersection functions. But when they first did the study and they came back and they pointed out, well, and sometimes people cut through this property and they do that. They got it all right. They understood it.
And
so
what fascinates me, there's so many regulars at certain times. I'm glad St. Francis was pointed out as a big traffic, because it does contribute to that. But like, it's almost like the people know each other, and there's different rules that they have where they, the cars back up in the intersection. You're on Riverside going north. Cars back up, and people will go way out there on Carroll Street, and they come around, and they circle back in. And the people like give them room. Everyone like knows how it works, and it's completely wrong to do it that way.
Yeah, that's right.
But everyone sort of knows the little process
That's right.
there.
But you know what's interesting about saying that? That's the driver behavior.
Right.
And the way circles work is by changing driver behavior. So
Right.
we're going to retrain people to make the circle work, because they do make the intersection now work to the best extent that it can. So when there's a circle there, we're just going to have to make sure people understand who has the right of way, how it works. Let's keep it moving in there.
The other thing that fascinated me, if people coming from 50 West, turning onto Mill Street, and they want to turn right on West Main, or that's not West Main, is it West Main there? Or Fitzwater?
Yeah.
They'll go through that little parking lot there.
I know.
That's by Becker Morgan. I've seen
Yes.
people do that, and it's so dangerous.
It
There's
is.
always almost an accident. And I've always wondered, like, should they close that entrance off? I'm like, well, it can't happen that much. But in the study, it was like they saw like 6 or 7 cars do it. I was like, wow.
Yeah, it is. It's very interesting. I mean, they really do point out. But then closing an entrance sounds easy, but that would be a hardship for those businesses, because then it really restricts their exit onto just West Main
That's
Street.
right. They'd have they'd have to exit there.
Which would be impossible to exit that and make a left.
Yeah. And one of the concerns I saw somewhere, someone was saying it was going to affect 500 Riverside, the development right there.
Yes.
But it's not. It's just the access point will be down Riverside a little bit.
Yeah, actually, I'm very pleased with how the 500 Riverside Drive plan coordinates with the circle. So right now, if you look at that property of 500 Riverside, there is a little bit of an entrance right off of, kind of coming off of Mill Street, there's an entrance. So originally, the concept plan still showed that as a right-in. but it doesn't work real well with the circle. You could only use that right in if you were coming off of Mill Street and making that right. So we've asked the developer to just have the one entrance on the west side of the property. And from that entrance, you can go right in, right out, left in, left out. So it's full turning movement. So I think
Right.
that's really their best focus. And we really don't need much land. You know, we will be procuring a little bit of land for the circle, but it's in a landscape area they're planned. You know, it's not
Right.
impacting building or parking lot, so it seems to
Yeah,
coordinate
there's nothing
pretty
there to
well.
impact yet.
No,
So yeah,
no.
so they can all build it in their plans.
Yes.
The mayor is always interesting because sometimes he says too much, and I don't want you to agree to that because you can only get in trouble for that. But he talked about the Rise Up Coffee situation where there's the traffic backs up, and his vision as a planner guy is to take Rise Up and get it out of where it is, the old little dry cleaner place, and put it on the circle, like where the white building is there somehow with that or the old gas station. That it would just be a great place for it. So he's talking about that, and people are like, what? How can the government officials say to move Rise? You know, they're doing that kind of thing, but it would really make sense for that circle, and it would be really cool to have one of our coolest businesses right there on the circle.
Sure. From a planning perspective, it doesn't hurt to say these things. Long-term goal, that would be great.
Right.
Of course, we can't make them move or handle any of those issues, and certainly it's not part of our plans when we design it. But yeah, it doesn't hurt to put our wishes out there.
And my dream, I've said this for 15 years, take the Fred Atkins obelisk off the plaza
yes.
and put it right in the middle of that circle. Will you get behind me on this campaign?
Well, I'm going to tell you the problem with that.
It would be great there.
The only problem is we don't want something in the middle of the circle that attracts your eye.
That's what I want.
No, we don't. We want drivers to be focused on cars. And the way, if you look at the plans, the way the lanes go into the circle, it's turning you so that your car would be facing the middle, and it's forcing you to look left. So it's making you look at what's coming towards you. We don't want you looking at the big obelisk.
Well, it's gonna be small compared to because where it is now it looks big, but in a big environment it probably looks small.
I am open to suggestions on where it should go, though, because that will be moving when we do the next phase of Main Street. So I'm not sure where it's going yet.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, open to suggestions.
Yeah. The other thing is that I'm very intrigued with, which no one else is. Well, my friend Eric Saylor is. The standpipe is finally getting rehabbed after so long.
Yes.
That's over on Lemon Hill. It's the big brown object that's
It
been there for
was
so
the
long.
big brown object, yes.
We have a photo in the paper this week. It's got the big tarp over it, and they're sandblasting it. Tell us what's going to happen there.
Okay, so the sandblasting phase is complete. We have the primer coat is on. We are painting it white, and we're putting the city logo on top in 2 places. So when you're driving in from the west, driving east on Route 50, you're going to be looking right up at it and have the logo looking at it. So barring the weather that we're supposed to get tomorrow, they were supposed to be done on Monday, next Monday. And it's not like we can drop the tarp and unveil it. The tarp will come down in pieces, but the grand unveiling will be hopefully Monday, but it sort of depends on the weather that we get on Friday.
See, Monday would be good because that's when I deadline on Tuesday, so I need to get in the paper. Monday would be good.
Well, we would like to have it done. So they're working on it now. They were doing the second coat yesterday, and then they have to paint the logo on. So
and they're going to light it.
Yes. So the first phase, this contractor is just doing the painting.
Right.
And then city forces are buying the lights and working with Delmarva Power right now to get electric to the site. So lighting will come a little bit after. So first we'll have the beautiful standpipe, but you won't see it much at night. And then in the next few weeks, we're working on getting lighting.
That's a nice little area. People don't even know about it. It's a great place to go picnic up there in that little lot. It's quiet, it's pretty, it's nice up there.
Yeah, we're very excited to have this done. I really think it's going to become a landmark.
And I think it's one of those things, when it was identified as a problem 10 years ago, the city was so dysfunctional they couldn't agree on what money to spend or how to do it, and there's all kinds of questions about lead paint and rust and all that. And somehow in the new administration, we just got it done.
It's been in the capital improvements plan for years.
Yeah.
We had to fund it. Everything takes a money obligation.
And it's not that much, like 180, 280?
Yeah, but this painting actually cost right around $80,000. So not that bad.
Yeah.
And then the lights will be on top of that, obviously, but they're not that expensive either. So I think all in all, it's a little bit less than $100,000.
So phase 1 of the Main Street Master Plan is done.
Well, not quite yet.
Okay.
the first block, the utilities are
yeah,
done.
the first block, that's right. So that's not phase 1, but the first block is done.
Right. So this first phase, the construction contract goes from Route 13 to Division Street.
Right.
And we're going block by block. So the first block of utilities is done, and the base paving is
From 13 to
Poplar Hill Avenue.
Poplar Hill.
And so you can drive on that now.
Right.
It's not final paving, so if everyone's wondering why it's a little bit
Big
low,
gaps,
it's
yeah.
just the base paving.
But the sidewalks look nice.
Well, so those are still the existing sidewalks.
Yeah.
We will come back in and put in all new sidewalks. So the new curb lines
Well,
are
the
there.
curb, yeah,
Yes,
the
exactly.
cuts and stuff.
Yes,
yeah.
you can see kind of the shape
How
of what
it
it's going to
weaves
look
around,
like.
yeah.
Exactly, and where we have bump outs. So now they've moved to the second block for utilities, so between Poplar Hill and Baptist Street. And then once they're done utilities there, they'll do them between Baptist and Division Street. So the contractor is going to start coming back to the first block and work on the sidewalk, landscaping, streetlights. I don't have the schedule for that yet, but in the next few weeks they'll start on the top side. But the street will stay open.
Right.
So that's the big thing I want to impress upon the businesses there. They'll have just temporary flaggers and temporary traffic control while they're doing sidewalk work. But then it will look like a completed street. We won't do the final paving until everything is done. So
Right.
we'll come back once all the sidewalks are done and pave the entire street so it looks consistent.
Now, there was a soil problem there. It
Yes.
slowed things down a little bit.
Yes, with our first shovel of soil near Route 13, we found soil contamination.
Well, when I was a kid, there were gas stations on both sides of that street. And in the 50s, I don't think they really cared where the gas went.
So I keep hearing that from people now, that there used to be a lot of gas stations.
Yeah.
We had done some testing in design and we didn't hit a contaminated spot. And obviously our utilities crew over the years has replaced mains and services and we had not hit contamination. So
Wow.
there was heavy contamination right near the Route 13 intersection, and
Right.
I think from an old gas station. But that derailed us for a few months. We had to get a permit from the state to treat the groundwater. We had to determine what we were doing with contaminated soils.
I remember the mayor was frustrated. It took the state so long to get back to him on that.
It's a big deal when you
Yeah.
find something like that. So we all
Yeah.
have to come to an agreement on how we're going to handle it. And we had to treat the groundwater with this huge activated carbon system to remove all the pollutants. So all that is done. So we're moving past that now. We're in the next block, and we've done very thorough testing of the next few blocks to see what we'll encounter.
It reminded me of one of those shows on HGTV where they buy the house and they're going to flip it real fast. And they open the wall up and
Yes.
like it's going to cost $1 million to fix it. And it was the same sort of thing.
Exactly.
As soon as you guys started digging, it's like, uh-oh.
It was very unfortunate, and the hardest part is to dewater, to lower the groundwater level. The contractor installs well points, so a number of wells along
Right.
the street, and all that had been installed. Had that not been installed, we could have opened the street back up while we were working on the permit, but
Right.
all that work had already been done, so the street stayed closed. So I do feel bad about how long that was closed.
And there's some pressure to get this done fast because the folk festival is coming.
Yes.
So you're going to have 200,000 people down there.
Yes.
And you can't really have a closed street.
No, absolutely not. So right now this phase is scheduled to go into spring of next year. So we have a bit of a cushion before the folk festival. But
Right.
the next phase will not start until the day after the folk festival.
Right.
And we've been talking about it internally. Our plan is to have it bid and awarded and truly ready to go with a notice to proceed in mid-September. So
Right.
we're not impacting the folk festival. And then that one has to finish within a year before the next folk festival, before the
Right.
second one. So the next phase, which is the plaza phase, we are under very tight time constraints.
So that'll first be what, Baptist, the courthouse, and then the plaza? Or
Yeah, so this will be the next phase completely, which will bid with a new contractor. It's
Right.
a separate contract. It is the Division Street intersection, the piece of North Division up to Route 50, and then West Main Street or the plaza from Division Street out to Mill Street. And I'm trying to call it West Main Street instead of the plaza because it won't look like a plaza anymore.
for most of my
when we're
life,
done.
it was West Main Street.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Well, call it West Main Street now.
Right.
The big monument is going away, and we're taking
Gonna
out
put it
all
in
the
the traffic
planters.
circle, aren't you?
No, we're not. All the planters are coming out. So West Main Street will look like a street.
Right.
There will be regular sidewalk, curb
Which is
and
my
gutter,
dream.
and a
I've
street.
never liked the plaza.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you see people all the time walking down the middle of the road because it looks like a pedestrian plaza still. For all of our efforts to make it safe for cars and pedestrians, it's still confusing.
Right.
So now it will look like a street. We will have still one-way traffic, but we're reversing
way.
the flow. Yep, the
Right.
other way to bring people into downtown. We will have a dedicated bike lane in that phase and a lot more parking. So right now the parking is very sporadic.
Right.
It's sort of how it could fit between planters. So now we'll have more parking. We will still have outside seating areas. You know, there are a couple of eateries on the on West Main Street. I almost said the plaza. And we will still have outdoor seating around those businesses.
And those plans are all online. People can go on the city website and look at it.
Yes.
And it looks beautiful what's going to happen.
It does. I'm very excited about that also. We have brick crosswalks, and then with the sidewalks, you have the regular concrete sidewalk, and then we have a strip behind the curb that has trees and light poles. And those will have brick pavers that are porous pavers. So rainwater can go in through those pavers to the tree roots. So we've put a lot of provisions in place to keep tree roots from pushing up the sidewalk and having heaves all over it. And some of that is we're putting water directly onto the tree roots from the porous pavers. So that makes a nice brick strip along the sidewalk. So it'll be very attractive.
Cool.
It will have consistent street lights, which I know the mayor's very excited about.
He's obsessed with all the streetlights being the same. Yeah.
Well, when you walk up and down Main Street right now, you can probably easily see 6 different types.
There are 6 different kinds. Yeah.
Yes. So there will be one type of street light,
Yeah.
and it's our new city standard. It's in our city standards book. So we're happy to have that roll
The
out.
benches will be consistent.
Benches are consistent. Trash cans, recycle cans, and they'll all match. They'll look similar.
Yeah.
We're replacing the street signs and adding wayfinding signs that have the city logo and branding. So it will be nice. Just bear with
Cool.
us. It'll
Cool.
look really nice when it's done.
Now, when I was a kid on my bicycle, we got everywhere by riding on the railroad tracks, which go right down the middle of town. No one even realizes they're there. There's some parts of it that you probably shouldn't go on up there, like underneath the overhead bridge. But there's a bike plan, a greenway plan.
Yes.
And this is exciting for me because this is how we got everywhere in town.
Yes, definitely. So the city just recently adopted 2 plans, the Bikeways Master Plan and the Urban Greenway Plan, and they tie in together. They're very similar. And a big component of the plans are the rail trails. So we essentially want to connect Fruitland all the way north to, I think it ends right around Naylor Mill Road is where it would end. With a bike trail, hiking, biking, for pedestrians and bikers. And so we're about to award the design contract for the rail trails. So that's the first step. And we broke it up into 8 different segments. So they're going to do an overall master plan and then start on the design of different segments. And then we can sort of pick and choose which ones we build first and in what order. There are going to be more and less challenges with some of the segments.
Right.
For sure, the area between Milford Street and Bateman Street around the university is a high priority segment.
Right.
You have a lot of students walking along the railroad at all times.
They cut back through that way, yeah.
And they cut through that way a lot. So SU is a partner in this project, and they'll be very involved when we get to that phase. But yes, I'm excited to see this happen, and I think it'll be really nice. We have the trail in Fruitland that ends right about at this, the south side of the Salisbury. So we'll pick up from there and keep going north.
Yeah, if you're at the public house and you're sitting outside, you see people walking by on that. They're using the railroad track to get around. And
yes.
And just the other day, I dropped my car off at Burnett White, and I wanted to go to Starbucks at the college. So I walked right down the railroad tracks all the way.
All right.
And it's going to be a really nice walk, in the future. So it really makes sense.
Yeah, it will be a nice walk, and we'll be connecting to a lot of different things along the way. And so the rail trail is north-south. Urban Greenway is a little bit more east-west, where it's connecting sort of the Ward Museum all the way out to Pemberton Park.
So that's through the park and the River Walk.
So they'll intersect. So you could be taking a trail from the south side, hit the Urban Greenway, head west to Pemberton. So it'll all connect, which is very nice.
And people don't get, this is our future. Having a walkable city is really important. And the growth that we've done with bicycles is just amazing.
It is. We have a very active bicycle and pedestrian advisory committee, and they are integral in this process. We also have a green team, a sustainability committee, and they're also weighing in on this process. So.
Great. How can people reach you if they want to get a hold of you?
Sure. I'm in the government office building, room 202.
202.
My email address or phone number? Our phone number is 410.
I'm going to get people to call you and advocate in favor of putting the obelisk in the middle of
That's what I was going to say. Tell me where you want the obelisk to go. Let me take those by email. So.
And everyone, I've done a lot of research on this. Fred P. Atkins was like one of the greatest guys ever.
Okay.
So his memory is really important to Salisbury.
I really do want to find a good home for that. I mean, that is one of those things that plagues me in the middle of the night.
When I die,
where are we going to put that?
Are they going to build an obelisk to me anywhere? I mean, you got to be a pretty special guy to do.
Maybe we can write your name on the bottom of the standpipe or something. So our office phone number is 410-548-3170. My email is apollack. It's APOLLACK @salisbury.md. And the city's unveiling a new website soon. Infrastructure and Development Department has a lot of information on that page. All of the planning documents we've been talking about.
It's all there. The circle, everything's there. Yeah.
Yeah, so I welcome anyone to go there and look at that.
Oh, and I forgot, you're a Parkside person.
Yes, I'm a Parkside graduate.
Yeah.
I actually went through all the Wycomico County schools. I went to Glen Avenue and Bennett Junior and then Parkside.
So a Salisbury native who's
Yes.
still here making our community better.
That's right. Yep, that's right.
Thank you for being here, man.
Thank you. Thanks.
That's Amanda Pollack. She is the,
Director of Infrastructure and Development.
I've always called her the Assistant Director of Public Works.
That's
but,
fine. I still answer to that.
And we're thrilled to have her today. I'm Greg Bassett from the Salisbury Independent Newspaper, another edition of 101 right here on PAC 14.
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and one-on-one. We'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.